Alright, hello. This is David with Sacred Clown Tarot. It's been a minute since I've done a reading, but I'm diving back in and doing it now. I hope the lighting's alright. I haven't done this in a while, but I've already pre-drawn your cards. This is for Capricorn Timeless Reading, and just gotta take a gander. Underlying energy for our archetypes cards that we have. The Hunter. And our underlying energy I drew from our tarot, the Hermetic Tarot, is Six of Pentacles for you. I don't know if that'll focus. All right, so let's dive in. So the first archetype card that we have for you is the Shadow. Our second in the center is the Mystic. And our third and final archetype card we have, it's Karos. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Unless it's Cryos, Karos. Very jewelly, lovely color blue. Okay, so I'm gonna start in by just tapping into each and every one of these energies just to get the sense of what's going on real quick. I pre-shuffled because I take an abundant amount of time to actually shuffle, but bear with me through these little energy check-ins because I'm just discovering the energy myself. So this is pursuit, fixation, determination that I'm getting with the Hunter, focusing in on it. And I thought it was apt that I'm coming back after like 2.5 years of doing this for Capricorn. I just feel like it's an energy of getting one's shit together, getting back to work. So that's the underlying energy, is the Hunter for you, Capricorn. And we have the Shadow as our first archetype out. This speaks to me about integration and looking at things from a new lens. So I feel like you're taking a new perspective on how you're looking at things. I feel like you perhaps could have recently adapted your shadow aspects more into your personality. Because this is kind of at the forefront. It's leading the way for the other things. I feel like you made the willful decision to integrate a part of your darkness and apply it, because I think you're seeing a benefit to it. And we're going to learn more about that. Yeah. So clarifying that card, we have the Three of Cups. That's what's leading off that. I'm going to dive back into that later. I'm going to stick with archetypes for now. A little discombobulated. All right, the Mystic. This is our second archetype card out. This is a breath of fresh air. This is truth, is the first word that came to mind. This is kind of expansion. Obviously with the Mystic, you have the butterfly there, or a moth. We'll go with the butterfly. It's expanding its wings. It's almost like breaking free of the cocoon, the shell, obviously. But that warmth right in the center, that warmy, orangey, yellow, orange, red kind of color, and the eyeball above. This is about intuition, but intuition that's come online, that's centered in your being. Kind of getting to the proper integration of heart space and mental space. Your third eye and your heart chakra kind of coming into cohesion and a warm glow that can't be denied. A truth at the center of your being that you're embracing, and you're not afraid to show your wings. You're not afraid to spread them out and walk forward in truth. This is very cool. This is a very mystical, no pun intended obviously with the Mystic, mystical integration process. I'm loving it for you so far there, Capricorn and Karos. So this is about the overwhelming nature of integrating one's divinity. With the first two cards, there's a darkness, right? So we start with the shadow, facing our shadow, facing the dark side of ourself. And then I talked about how this was like an integration process. So you're kind of bringing your shadow and your light body kind of overlaying one another and finding the true self within. Once you do that, you have this truth about you that cannot be denied, this warm glow, the obvious nature of how you balance your dark and light attributes. And that gives you this wisdom that the mystic. So this might just be how you look at the world. This might be how other people are perceiving you. Maybe perhaps is more mystical, but it's an opening. And because of that opening, that integration from before allows for the expansion. That's what the butterfly is all about. And that brings you in touch with divinity. So the mystic is at the center. This is kind of like future, but also like forefront energy. It's what's the energy that's coming in. And I love centering it right there. So it's like staring right at you. This blue is a mighty fine color. It's so pure. And I want to just say blue again, but it's lovely. And this for me is speaking of higher divinity. And it's kind of like I go from the shadow, it's kind of like all around us. There's shadows obviously behind you or whatever angle that the sun is kind of coming down on you. It's kind of outside of yourself, but you're pulling it back in. In doing that, it brings you to this, the mystic, which is the integration of it and then the expansion. And the divinity is everything that kind of exists outside of yourself. But the I is kind of indicative of having the eye to actually see it, to see the divinity around you and see yourself as a part of the greater picture. And it's lovely and it's light. And so it's just like the first card comes out, it's dark, it's heavy, it's what you had to face. So I had to face, so anybody that goes through a spiritual process, journey, purging, enlightenment has to face. This is kind of the opening up of it. And then this is kind of the final result of how you will see it or how you can be seen, one with all of it. And this is just, it's light glow. This is kind of like, I don't know, it's weird, but I wanted to say a pixelated sky. It's kind of seeing the fabric of what makes the sky blue and surrendering to the obvious nature that's like, could it look better as any other color? And just accepting it. It could be any color in the world. God could have made the sky any color. But you surrender to the blue and it reminds you of what is true. Just rhyming casually. So now that we have those, we're going to go for like the clarifying card. So we had the Three of Cups that I kind of got ahead of myself and pulled out. So that is the Lord of Abundance. That is a Three of Cups. So that speaks for celebration. And it's so hard to see the finer details in this card. I might have to review or reanalyze, where's my camera, how I go about this. But to paint you a picture, it's a couple lotuses and water kind of spilling down. Let me just feel this. This is the excitement of a spiritual process. Maybe it was people surrounding you that got you into the idea of spirituality, the excitement of integrating the thoughts, the wisdom that can come with it. After that, I had the Nine of Pentacles. So this is focusing on your worth, your determination, your independence, really. Lord of Material Gain is what this one is for the Hermetic Tarot. This is integration of self. So that's why this is kind of a bridge between the shadow and the mystic. You had to do this, right? Find your own self-worth, really invest in yourself, find abundance within your own being before you could get to the state of what the mystic was bringing. Now the Three of Swords is right at the center of it. And this is one of the least favorite cards across all tarot. So this is the Lord of Sorrow. So this is what fully needed to be faced in order for you to attain your mystical experience, all right? This came out of this energy. And this is Three of Swords, usually indicative of heartbreak, of sorrow, of pain in general, but also kind of like failed relationship dynamics, betrayal, third-party situations. But for me, this is kind of just the nature of toiling where heart meets mind. Sorry, someone just texted me. Where heart meets mind. And I'm kind of noticing you got the crescent moons right here at the base of the sword, and a finer detail there. But that's the proper integration of emotional balance with mental balance. So you had to overcome this strife, this pain. I know for me, this sensation, I relate to this, kind of like being stabbed in the back. When I first woke up, it kind of felt like there was a spiritual spear going right through my body. So that was a fun wake-up call for me. So relatable in that regard. But this isn't like a current energy. I just think it's the center of what needed to be processed and realized by you. Intense pain. It's mental, it's emotional, it's both. And that's why it's such an unsavory card, unfortunately. Lord of Sorrow, aptly fit. Okay. Our next clarifying card. So this is kind of what brings the mystic to Kairos. All right, and this is the Ace of Wands. 1122 as I pulled it up. So the Lord of the root of the power of fire. And divinity, higher learning, higher expression, I always associate with fire. Because divinity, it's the passion. It's the spark. And that's what has brought about the divine wisdom. So before all this, it was black and white, right, with the shadow. We go to the mystic, still darker colors. Black and white, integrating a little bit of color, the fire, a little bit. And then that relationship between the mystic and divinity is brought to you by the Ace of Wands. And that is holding your power, holding your passion, the spark of life that gives you the determination to go after anything. And I think this Ace of Wands harkens back to the hunter energy. And this is the foresight. I think both of these are kind of in tandem right now with this message that's coming out for you. This is truth being delivered. So this is the integration of truth, owning your truth. This is calling your shots as they come up. This is speaking the words into action. This is making yourself known in a world that was either resistant to you or a world that you were originally resistant to. And going forward with your divinity, going forward with your truth in an integrated, calm, serene fashion. What lights you up fearlessly and going forward and making the leap. Which brings you back to this. Divinity. All-seeing, all-knowing. It's just consciousness. And it's so light. And then our last clarifier, we have the King of Cups. And what a beautiful one to end on. The King of Cups. Prince of Chariot of Water, is that what it says? The Prince of the Chariot of Waters, yes indeed. Which is the King of Cups. Hard to see. I gotta get a better camera if I'm gonna use these cards. Oh my sweet goodness. But he's lovely. And he holds a lotus in his hand. He holds a cup in his hand. I believe there's an eagle flying over him. And this is kind of stepping into the authority of divinity, of the balanced, watery nature of what you are. And as Capricorn, what we're reading for is the sea goat. And I think what's so often overlooked, I think most people kind of just surrender to the idea of Capricorn being a goat, but you're truly a sea goat. So you're right where land meets water and where water meets land. And I think previously, because you weren't fully integrated, you didn't have the sense of the emotional balance. And even though you are an earth sign, you still achieved your 9 of Pentacles, but what's being focused on for you and your worldly development is the fact that you can stand with the presence of a King of Cups, to be secure in your emotion. I think Capricorns and Scorpios, which I am. I'm a Scorpio. We can relate in that we kind of come off as cold and sometimes calculated, perhaps stoic, reserved, but there is something underneath of that. Usually a Capricorn, it's an assurity, a stableness, a groundedness, a determination, which, you know, the hunter and the kind of Ace of Wands kind of speak to. But I think there's a coolness and a collectedness, and people can confide in you quite easily because you are grounded and you're a stable energy. And I think the King of Cups kind of speaks to that. I think you might have already had that stability and tranquility within you, but the King of Cups here is more profoundly speaking to the emotional wellspring that you provide to people. And I don't think there's any coincidence that this and this are kind of coming up together, our King of Cups and our Cryos together. And this coolness, this wateriness almost reminds me of how the ocean meets the air. I feel like you can swim in the ocean without a lifeguard, without a safety vest. You can be secure. You can lay flat out back like this. I'm just picturing you at a beach for some reason. Cape Cod, wow, comes to mind, and I'm seeing the cliff edge. My aunt has a place out there, facing the bay, where the water comes in, and there's kind of a rock face, and you have to go down to their limited beach that's only available at certain times. But whoever you are, the image of what I'm seeing, because I'm thinking of where water meets land with Capricorn. I'm picturing an opportunity to go down into the water, to lay out in the sun, and to embrace all of what the water is. Like, it's a weird realization that I'm just having now, but like, you are the salt of the water, if that makes any sense. Salt is technically earth, and you are the integration of water into earth. So you are the salt to that water. You are the saltiness in that water, and you makes me kind of think of float tanks now, because they put more salt into them in order so that people can be more buoyant. And I think that's what you are. You have the buoyancy to overcome, to persevere. Nothing's going to rock your boat too much. Nothing's going to throw you off your path now that you've properly integrated. And this is a big win. This is a big victory. This isn't me kind of like aiding you and telling you what you need to get over. This is more so like a pat on the back kind of a reading about a successful integration and reminders of what you went through along the way, and upon points of reference to be like, hey, if you didn't have the words for it, if you didn't have the lingo, the ideas of what you've been doing, this is what you've been doing. We're putting visuals to your accomplishments, to your past toils and your current endeavors and future projections. Lord of the material success at the base of it, at the, this was the underlying energy for all of your clarifiers, was the Lord of material success. And for you, this is what it looks like. And this is kind of probably what you relate to more as a Capricorn, so to speak. But because you found this emotional security, this ability to rely on yourself, to flow on, little Modest Mouse reference, you'll have your material success. Whatever that was, whatever you're looking for, doesn't matter really, because you have the ability to achieve it. And I've used this term a lot, to integrate. You can pull it into reality. You can manifest it. Six of Pentacles is a grounded energy, the Lord of material success. Success is yours on the material plane if you want it. It's just where you want to apply it. We had the moon underneath of that, and I picked it up. And this is kind of just saying like the underlying energy of why you're having material success is the ruler of flux and reflux, which is the moon. You've conquered that aspect. You no longer need to be afraid of your own emotions or the emotions that are being displayed in others, because you have peace within yourself. You can rest and float atop the water knowing that you'll float, because you are the water and you are the land and you are the healthy balance of both. And I think that's what Capricorn gets to flex over the other earth signs. There's a little bit more dryness, a little bit more stubbornness to the earth signs. But I think Capricorn aptly speaks to determination, the hunter, and the will to persevere. Yeah, Capricorn. I think this has been a solid reading. I think you guys are doing fantastic. Look out for more videos from me. Again, this is Sacred Clown Tarot. My name is David. I hope you've had a lovely time with my message. I've had a great time with you. And we'll check back later. Do good. Peace out.